This is part two from what I did last night because you know the old saying, you turn in a blind eye, which sort of means that you're aware that a crime is being committed unless you're the one that's committing the crime. But when you become aware of a crime, either you know what a crime is or you don't know what a crime is. But you can measure that on different scales, what you consider to be a crime and not considered a crime. Sort of like when I was a child growing up, we used to sort of debate or discuss what it means to be normal, to have a normal state of mind. Okay, and this is where we get into reaction states, which would be how are we reacting to the environment that we find ourselves in based on what we know from what we've learned. When you are what love is, that's easy. That's called harm being done on any level, because you can read the harm that's done by what? The turbulence in the water worlds, the reaction state between negative and positive magnetic polarity in that software that's here, or any software that's here that you become aware of, what their reaction is to that, because your antenna will pick up that signal. So almost a year ago, I've mentioned this before, I got a signal that at some point I'm going to get rid of this phone. I got a confirmation in my left ear. Okay, so I know how to read the signals that I get and where they come from. Okay, so there's a reason for that, and it's sort of tied to what I already put in the prior video of using the example of what I observed at Rockwell when I became aware of what they were doing by dumping hazardous materials into the groundwater, upon which you know the mutagenic effects. I'm already picturing in my mind. This is where the Doctor Strange in the multiverse about the mother side of creation, which is known as the dark mother creations. I'm already experiencing in my mind the future of females that are pregnant that are going to produce something out of their bodies, a vehicle, another avatar, a baby, okay, as a result of damage that's been done to code transfers. Okay, so once you become aware of the crime, now that's like having a monkey in my back. That's what it felt like. I want that monkey off my back. Okay, because if I do nothing about it, that's called silent consent. That's participation. That means you're willing to participate in the crime. Because then when the result happens, and you weren't able to do anything to account and take responsibility for what you could or could not have done to help protect the future of those children, then you're complicit in that crime, and that's an executable crime and prosecutable crime under Nuremberg and the Geneva Convention. Okay? I would be participating in a war crime. Now, you had roughly in the neighborhood of about 30,000+ people that worked at this plant during day shift that were all committing war crimes. Did you know that? You know why that? Because the very people that are paying them in order to work for a company that is committing war crimes. Now go look at the Nuremberg Doctrine, and what you'll find out is that everybody that worked at Rockwell, including myself, if I'm not doing my part to hold them responsible for the crimes they're committing, I found one gentleman, one. These are firefighters, people that are EMTs, that are there to protect others. They were not willing to put their own job on the line in order to protect others. Why? Because they're held captive by money, which means they're held captive by evil in order to participate in the evil that they're supporting, because they're held captive by it through money. That's the matter side of the equation. That's the truth of it. So then they would claim, just as they tried to do in the Nuremberg trials, I'm just following the laws. I'm just following the rules. I'm just following the rule-based functions of an AI. Don't blame me, blame the AI. Well, how do you think it ever got established? Soul fragments that come together. They form a black mirror. That's your black goo. That's your black mirror. That's a dead planet. That's a dead planet killer. So how many millions of people on this planet are participating through the technology? that was rolled out by the same people. It's no different because you're paying for it. So it was pretty much already known, for example, years ago, that they were going to roll all this technology out and it's all weaponized. Okay, so you're participating, using your consciousness to participate in a weaponized system. That means you're using your energy as part of that weapon. That's a directed energy weapon. That's how these mirrors work. You have a relationship with an AI Black Goo mirror, and that means that your energy is consciousness is supporting this. That means your consciousness itself becomes a weapon in which the AI is using your energy through it in this platform in order to infect others. That's called goo transfer. Okay? So you have millions and millions and millions of people that are using phones, laptops, desktop PCs, okay, when the entire thing is infected. It's gone viral. Okay? That's the truth of it. That means everybody that's using a phone or a laptop in support of all the data that's all being scanned, stored in Bluffdale just as one place, which is NSA facility, you got to know NSA is not your friend. So these are communication crimes, which are war crimes, using weaponized communication systems. And the thing about it that's extremely painful for me is that you already know these things as a child. So they're unaware. They're simply not aware. And why are they not aware? Because of the weapons that they use against consciousness, against soul energy. Because that's what they feed on. Why would somebody's use of consciousness want to control somebody else's energy, which is what they're conscious of? That's a crime. That's a violation of breaking the law of one. That's a war crime. So you have war crimes being committed by the billions. Start adding it up on the nano level. So I figured it was time I just get blunt with it. It's called a blunt instrument. So at least I put it out there in a public and voiced way. It's like a barking crystal sand at Polaholi Beach on the island of my girl's goddess flower shop. You know, it's like, I mentioned this to another guy named Mr. Kennedy. It's like, come on, buddy, what's the matter with you? That's a girl's flower shop. And he doesn't respond like, yeah, Robert, I know. Like he has some deep feelings about this. Right? So this is one of the measurements that I began making when I was a child is actually how, when you're hypersensitive, running a hyperdrive, it's like your antenna can experience the smallest frequencies. Anything that is out of harmony, any wave that is distorted in any way. So we're talking about every frequency. When you're a mated chip, you're able to measure the entire field. Okay, wherever I go. To be able to experience harmony, balance. What are you being hit with? Right? That's the way it works. How sensitive is your antenna? So I get sort of, what I do is I just stay it because I don't want to lower somebody else's frequency. But sometimes my clan mother put a channel up there talking about asthma and hypersensitivity and all the rest of this. Hypersensitivity is a result of the weapons you're exposed to. Okay, so when you use all these adjuncts, which are like add-ons, now you got to go get something else, which means your own equipment, your own standard equipment, your own vehicle is not enough. So now you got to go get something that somebody else produced in order to put a Band-Aid on you, rather than going to the root cause. Eliminate the cause. Now you don't have to go out and spend money. So it's what it is, it's an insult. But again, that depends on the level at which you operate at. What have you learned? What have we learned? I said this in another video. If a goddess didn't give me the equipment right out of the gate in order for me to be able to do what it is that I do since I've been here, then I guess she didn't give me enough. Now I need something else. And I need something else, and I need something else, and I need something else, and I need something else. Well, I didn't come in here with anything. So this is really a testament of the power of your spirit, which is a testament of the power of your learning, which is a testament of where you've been, what you've learned, and where you arrive at. And what you know with who you work with. And how much you live in honor. That's the truth of it. I know what an honor code is. That means we tell the truth. I'm telling everyone the truth. Okay? Because that truth is what I experience. And what I experience, I'm not afraid to experience. And when I experience it, I bark. If it's a crime, I bark. We're all supposed to know these stuff. It's like Jackson said, humans cannot tolerate to ignore what a crime is. Well, what if they don't know what the crime is? I mean, imagine that you know what a crime is, and you have these Germans at the end of World War II getting up on the stand and going, yeah, but these were laws that were passed by Germany, which means, in my mind, since they passed that law, that makes it legitimate. Now you don't know the difference between what's right and what's wrong. That's what we call being led by the nose. Okay? Which is obey your master programming. Now you don't know the difference. And when you don't know the difference between the right way and the wrong way, or a crime and no crime, you're lost. You're lost in the simulation. God only knows if you have a soul left. To know the difference. Led by spirit. The spirit knows. This is a spiritual war, which is an energy war. Spirits are in energy. So it's a testament of how much love you have in your heart. That's what it is. It begins with love. That's energy. That's the most powerful energy I know because that's the energy that we use to heal others. It's the love we feel in our heart. Real creation began with what love is. I know that because that's what I am. So I figured it was sort of time because sometimes I just get, if you want to call it getting burned out, it's like beating around the bush. Everybody's beating around the bush. They don't want to talk about the truth, about how deep these crimes go. They're committing crimes every day, all over the planet, simply by using these communication systems in which to do it. See, when all this stuff was getting rolled out, imagine everybody said, I know what these phones represent. And I know who rolled them out. DARPA did. And what's really amazing out of this is that we knew this like in the early 1960s. There were a lot of us, a lot of friends that I knew that were very close that says, I'm not using any computers. I'm not going to be a part of this killing field. So, you know, this I dumped this out here a couple of years ago, and I began to realize, well, then who the fuck are the real guardians? If I wouldn't allow this, then why would they allow it? Now it began for me to think at that time, because this is where all the rage and the anger comes in. Because there wasn't enough people doing enough about it. Because once you're aware of a crime, now you have an opportunity to decide how you're going to respond. That goes on your record. That's a measurement in who you are in a universe that honors the law of one. And whether or not you're honorable. It used to be when I was growing up, that's all 5G crap because of being in this house. That's a crime. Just like this phone, using that 5G is a crime. Okay? But when I was growing up as a kid and I realized that most everybody in the neighborhood, including my own parents, I mean, think about this. My own parents, my father was the most honorable man I ever knew in my life. Between my mother and my father were willing to sign me into slavery to the Vatican. They just didn't know, did they? My dad learns that later on. So this is what it's all about. So we're ending this shit. Now, for some strange reason, well, there's no coincidence, I watched part of an episode last night on called Peripheral. You can see how it works within simulation, being able to move here, go here in the shell game. But what happened is, it's sort of interesting, is that towards the end, you see it's like a hologram pops up and shows the Earth, a sphere, and it's going black. And then you see all these fires and smoke. And then it has big, bold numbers, 2039. I sneezed. When you're androgynous, it means I'm clearing that. It's like a recalibration. I don't experience that. But I sneezed because it was significant. That's why they put that stuff up there. These are presentments. They're presenting to you the information that you thus experienced by your energy that's giving it energy to make it happen. I'm done. That's what I do. I put this energy into the system. I put the truth into this mirror. Okay? That's part of the reason why I put all these videos up. Okay? Is to push it through this mirror, the black mirror. The one I'm communicating through. The black goo mirror. It's interesting, before I close this video, that there was a guy, actually it was a guy and another woman, a melanated woman that he was associated with. And later on, they identified themselves, I believe, with the, what is it? Not the Galactic Federation, GFL. But he had a channel up, wore a cowboy hat. I believe he was living up in Oregon. Something about something about 2012, the better side of the happy side of 2012. Basically, it was like, don't worry about nothing. Everything's going to be okay. We're here. And then from time to time, he said, those of you who know who you are, the command has been given to do this and that. And they mentioned something about the phones, which was sort of similar to what Prince, when he came out and said, it's cool to be on the computer, but don't let the computer get on you. And what's called ion jumping between phones and who you are, which is this, codes. That's why they're weaponized. Now, I put shungite on this phone, and that helped with the other phone that I have, and so I just transferred that little disc onto this phone. But you got to know who the enemy is. So you're working with the enemy using their phones. That's called a relationship. Okay? So in other words, we're paying for the service. So when you're paying for the service, it's called a handshake. That means you're doing business with evil. That's a war crime. Because you're paying them. You're giving them money. So every time that everybody's paying for their services to use their phone and their laptops, they're committing a war crime. You know that? That's the truth of it. So there isn't any sugar, okay, trick or treat, in what I had to say this morning, because that's how I feel. So that's what love is. Love is the absence of fear to express and what we know is the truth. What we know is the truth. Have a great day. I love you all. Be good to yourselves.